Welcome back to the Real Femme Sapien YouTube channel where I give cultural commentary. And today there is no shortage of controversial content. Actually, this time I think this content's pretty funny. I am so excited to react to it. So we have a photographer who has some clients who are normal size and then some clients that are plus size, or what we used to call it obese, but I guess we can't say that word anymore. So if you like this content, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell. Behind me, you'll see a belladonna candle burning, and if that interests you, it's in the description down below. But let's go and take a look at what is commonly referred to as another fat posting an L. It's not a fun word to say out loud, but there is actually an entire Twitter called Fats Posting L's, because I think a problem in the West is that we simply cannot learn how to take the L humbly. Let's jump in.
A curve or a plus size model is going to cost an extra $100.
So if you haven't watched this, you should go watch the whole thing. But essentially, Megan, who is my mother agent, reached out to a New York City photographer named William Lords asking for his rates. And he came back with a standard rate, whatever the that means, and a rate for plus size and curve models. And naturally, the rate for the plus size and curve is $100 more. Because that makes sense. This is just one more example of how awful the modeling industry is to literally anyone over a size 0. Like, how does this make any sense? How does it make sense to charge more because the person standing in front of you that you're taking photos of is bigger? Tell me how the that makes sense, William. Your fat phobia is showing. It's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, so if we look at the breakdown of the clip, the regular rate is around $9.50 for your standard sized woman, because there is a difference. And then the plus/curved sized women is $1,050 per the session. So it's $100 difference. But I think it's kind of ridiculous that people are pretending like this man doesn't have to go out of his way to think further ahead on how to make these women look the most attractive, because they are not traditionally attractive, not necessarily naturally attractive, but there are a couple of big women out there that have really beautiful faces, and if they just lost the weight, you'd be able to see that and convey that. But he probably has to put in more work and more consideration and more editing in that. It very well could be that this is an adjustment in payment because of that simple fact. And if you have to work harder on a project or put in more time and effort, yeah, you should be compensated for it. I bet none of these women talking about this would volunteer to work overtime for free. I don't think it's groundbreaking work or anything like that, but I do think that, yeah, he's probably very justified in this. And if he's putting it in there, it's probably because it's been a trend that he's had to deal with before. Looking closer at the rates as well, both rates include 3 styles and 8 to 10 images. So it doesn't sound like a bad package. To be honest, I've gotten photography done out in the Midwest, and it is much more expensive than that. So this already kind of looks like a deal for a place like New York City to begin with. It just probably is that those 8 to 10 images that he has to generate for a plus size woman is going to be different. Sorry, you know what's free? Counting calories. You could do that, but they're not going to do that. And she's acting like there are not size 0 women that don't have complaints about the fashion industry. I know women that have worked in modeling that were size 0s, and they didn't like it either. It's not an easy place to work. If you don't want to deal with it, then work somewhere else. Like, there's nothing stopping these women from working at a local Starbucks. There's nothing stopping these women from being homemakers. Yeah, I know. Shocking. Imagine a world where you have autonomy over where you decide to work. We have that in the United States of America as women. You can't pretend that we don't. I know they're pretending like they don't, but they're not forced. No one's keeping them there. But let's go back and check out the comments from the woman just one last time so we can break down some of these arguments, because they don't particularly make sense. This is not fat phobic. This is probably you just don't want to pay for the extra work that has to be done to make you look good.
Plus size model is going to cost an extra $100.
So if you haven't watched this, you should go watch the whole thing. But essentially, Megan, who is my mother agent, reached out to a New York City photographer named William Lords asking for his rates. And he came back with a standard rate.
Again, there's more to the package. 3 styled looks, clean face, styled hair, 8 to 10 images. That sounds like a good and cheap package to me. If you want cheaper or worse, you can go and get that, but then you have to walk into that modeling agency with a crappy portfolio. But you wouldn't want to do that either, right?
that means, and a rate for plus size and curve models. And naturally, the rate for the plus size and curve is $100 more. Because that makes sense. This is just one more example of how awful the modeling industry is to literally anyone over a size 0. Like, how does this make any sense?
Again, number 1, you could work anywhere else you want to work in modeling. Number 2, we have the luxury to be in a time where there is even such a thing as a plus size model. This is not an occurrence in the 90s. This is very new. Like, you give women the world and they still find something to complain about. Like, okay, that makes sense.
Does it make sense to charge more because the person standing in front of you that you're taking photos of is bigger? Tell me how that makes sense, William. Your fat phobia is showing. It's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
He's fat phobic because he would dare to charge his clients for the extra effort that he has to put into the product. That doesn't sound fat phobic, that sounds capitalist. Also, when it comes down to autonomy, we have it as women, not just in the workplace, but also in services. If you don't like this photographer, you can go and find another one. But I'm willing to bet in New York City, finding a high quality product at a lower price when it comes to photography is a hard thing to find, like a needle in a haystack. And there's a lot more to this story as well, because the photographer in question actually came out and provided some statements and sentiments that lead me to believe my line of thinking is correct in this. So we have an article here where he responds, and he does say that he doesn't just shoot the women, and just shooting the women, that's actually really hard work in photography. It's lighting and poses, but he also styles these women. He picks out clothes for them to give them the best portfolio possible, and he's a young man just trying to make a buck. But if you go and you look at his statement, he confesses that he does his best with styling plus size models in the coolest creative clothes, and that requires more work because a lot of designers do not produce clothes in their size. He goes out there with his own card, his own debit card, to purchase the clothes. He says they cost almost thousands of dollars because I have to work so much harder to get these clothes. I was going to charge a very low rate of $100. So he goes out and buys a larger repertoire of clothes that is plus size for women, and he's trying to get a return on investment on purchasing these styling clothes through charging these women $100 more. It makes perfect capitalist sense. But if you go and you look at the model's response, their name is Mes Vescas, and she wasn't aware that he operated as a stylist on his test shoots, but that this does not change her outlook on the situation, because of course not, because she doesn't want to feel bad that she's getting charged more for being bigger. It has nothing to do with the fact that, you know, it requires more effort. It's just because he's a fat phobic jerk, right guys? She goes on to say, the idea that he's personally shopping for every model is funny. A little simple math and you can figure out a fair pricing structure that doesn't penalize women for their bodies. Interesting response of entitlement from a modern woman, a modern model, because she wouldn't have been a model if it wasn't for the body positive times. Thank you. All right, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think the photographer was fat phobic, or do you think these women are spoiled and entitled? Because it seems like to me he's probably got to consider different poses, different lighting, different editing, and he's got to edit more because there's more of a body there. It makes sense to me. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If you are interested in a femininity course, it is linked in the description down below. It is by Bernadine Bluntly. It has a biblical core to it. You can use code REALFEM at checkout for 20% off. I will see you guys next time. Bye.